Welcome to the next video in the Suggestion app course. This is a complete course where we'll build a .NET 6 Blazor server application with MongoDB from the ground up. There are 3 things you need to know before we get started. First, this is part of a series, and this isn't the first video in the series. If you're just starting out, you should check out the playlist that's linked in the description to start from the first video in the series. Second, this course is actually a paid course. MongoDB sponsored it so you can put the videos on YouTube for free. Check out the link in the description to sign up for MongoDB Atlas for free to thank them if you haven't already. Third, you can also buy this course on imtimcorey.com. The link is in the description. Buying this course will get you all the lessons right away, the source code for each lesson, a certificate of completion, offline access, and more. It also helps sponsor more free content. The video will be the same as it is on YouTube, so feel free to watch the free version if you want to. Okay, let's jump into today's video. Note there may be more than one lesson in this video, since some lessons are short. Now let's take on the next page, which is the details, which right now the details are pretty messy. So there's not a lot to show here. So let's go to the details page. Let's close out the create page. We will open up the details page. And again, we have to apply both our classes and then apply our styling. So let's start with the classes. Class equals page heading, and then text uppercase and margin bottom of 4. Next up, we're going to have class equals row, justify content center, and detail form. And this detail form class we're not going to use until we get to the mobile size. Next up, we have class equals call XL 8, call large 10, and form layout, which we've already done the form layout, so it's just a reuse of that same structure. Inside of our suggestion area, we're going to have a class equal to row, suggestion detail row. How about that? And then the next level down, we will have say class equals call 11 and suggestion detail, like so. Now in my notes, I actually have one more div wrapping this. We're going to put that div in place just in case that it was important. We can always test taking it out, but this provides a structural element around these two, so it may be important. So I'm going to leave it in for now. We'll come back and see if maybe we can pull it out later. I have here a class equals at GetVoteClass, and this is going to get the class for the vote element, which is going to look a lot like what we have on our index page. So we're going to use that in just a minute. We'll come back to it. This div has a class equal to text uppercase, and we have the same for the bottom one. And then this class right here, we do have an additional element, which is detail-upvote. So that's our 3 elements inside of our upvote, which let's go ahead and add this method. So we're going to copy this and come down to the bottom here, and we'll close the vote up, and below it we'll say private string GetVoteClass. And in here, I believe it's the same as what we have in the index page. Let's go over and look just to see if we can just copy and paste it. I like copying and pasting if I can to repeat the logic the same exact way. So GetVoteClass, we pass in suggestion, but if we don't pass in suggestion, it should be the same otherwise, because we already have suggestion. There's only one suggestion for this page. So that's the same stuff, except for the suggestion entry. We're going to say suggestion detail, no votes. So same thing is true here and here. We're going to have separate classes for these because of the fact the detail page, we're going to format things a little bit differently right off the bat. So we want to make sure that we don't treat it exactly the same as the index page, but the actual logic is the same. So that is the first section right here. So now I can move on to this class entry, which is suggestion detail date. So you can format this date accordingly. And then down here we have our section with all the rest of our data essentially. Class equals suggestion detail text. And then this first one for suggestion has a few classes. Font weight of bold, margin bottom of 2, suggestion detail suggestion. Now that's a weird name, I know, but after a while it gets difficult to track all these different sections and give them unique names. So this is the suggestion detail section, and it's formatting the suggestion text. That's why it repeats itself. So class equals for this one, margin bottom of 2, suggestion detail author. Next up, we have our description. Class equals, and here we have a, let's do a margin bottom of 2. And then for this right here, which is our category name, we have a class equal to suggestion entry text category. So that's a reuse. Notice suggestion entry, not suggestion detail. This is the same formatting, so we're going to use it the same way. Okay, then down here, the div outside of our button, we have class equal call of 1 and close button section. So again, we're reusing a class there. So we'll have less and less CSS to apply as we reuse more and more of our classes, which is as it should be. btn and btn-close. That will format our button. And that's all we have for that section. Now let's move on to the next section, which is if our suggestion's not null. I'm sorry, suggestion status. So our status is not null. Class equal to row, justify content center. And then is the detail form, which is a repeat of the class we used up above, so we'll only have to put that in once. Class equal to call extra large 8 and call large 10. And suggestion results and form layout. That form layout's a repeat, and what that is just a that's the white layout kind of thing. Now this div right here, this is one that we just left empty, but we're gonna put a class equal to @GetStatusClass, and it's gonna get the status for our suggestion. So that status, it could be nothing or it could be something. So let's go private string GetStatusClass. And this is going to be a lot like what we had, again, over on index.razor, where we had a getStatus in here somewhere, GetSuggestion-status-class. So we're going to grab this and we're going to paste it in. The logic is the same. Again, not passing in a parameter, but we already have suggestion. But instead of suggestion entry for everything, we need suggestion detail because it is different than the entry. So we'll mirror the same pattern, but so it's suggestion detail instead of suggestion entry, but the status of none, status dismissed, and all the rest, they'll be the same. So there's our logic for which class to return to put in this div. And this div is just empty otherwise. But what it's going to do is going to color the left-hand side band just like it would normally on the right-hand side. This is the left-hand side, and it's just going to have the color there. And that'll just indicate that this is the color of this status. So that takes care of the class. Now let's move on to the next section. Class equal to suggestion detail status section. And after that, we're going to have class equal to suggestion detail status, the font weight of bold, margin bottom of 2, and suggestion detail suggestion. Again, reusing a class. And then this markup here, we're going to have a class equal to suggestion detail owner notes. So that'll format our notes properly. Okay, so lots of classes being applied. We can run this just to see that it's made some layout changes, made some changes to how our text lays on the page, but it's still going to be ugly for now. So let's just take a peek at it, make sure that nothing breaks, which it shouldn't with CSS. The worst thing that happens is weird things pop off the page or something. But here's our fifth suggestion, and we have these two boxes. And notice there's no line in between them, no break in between them, and the X button is right below everything. That's not right. But otherwise, this layout gives two different sections. We have the dismissed section. So we're all set now to make this look pretty. Okay, and actually the X button should work. It does. Great. So now let's come back to the top of the page, and we're going to start working down through our various classes to start applying things. So this stuff is all repeat. So page heading we've already done, text uppercase and margin bottom of 4, that comes from Bootstrap, both of those. This comes from Bootstrap, so is this, and this is only for our mobile version. These columns come from Bootstrap. Form layout we've already done. So now we can come down here to row, that's from Bootstrap. Suggestion detail row, that's something new. Suggestion detail row. I do want to point out that I try to keep things kind of together as much as possible. So I put things at the bottom just because instead of trying to do some kind of like alphabetical entry or something weird like that, I just put them together as I add them in for a certain section. However, I don't put like bands around them or comments saying, hey, this is a detail page code, or this is because the fact that the whole point of CSS is that you can reuse your class stuff out, or your class entries outside of one page. We have multiple pages that use stuff. So it might be in the index page, but it'd be used in the detail page too, which would make it unclear. So I just put things in groups roughly, but it's not like there's a clear organizational pattern here. Okay, so the suggestion detail row, the only thing I'm going to do here is BS gutter X. I'm going to set to 0. That's something the Bootstrap applies that I want to take off for our row. Next up, let's go back and look. We can close out index. Next up is the suggestion detail. And this is the majority of what we have for our suggestion detail. So we're going to do some work in here, which would be display in the grid pattern, and the grid template columns are going to be 100 pixels and 1 FR. So on the main page, on the index page, we had a grid that had 3 columns, and the first was 142 pixels. Well, we're going to do 100 pixels. That's why the click to upvote has to have different classes, because they're different sizes. But it's going to shrink it down because it's not as much the focal point of this page. The focal point is more on the details of the suggestion. And we're only going to have 2 columns because we're not going to have that color band on the right. Instead, we'll have, if we have a status, we'll have a separate bubble down below that has that status information. And padding is going to be 0. Again, when you have a 0, you do not put units on it, because 0 pixels is the same as 0 rem, is the same as, and so on. Okay, so that's the suggestion detail. Now we get to the GetVoteClass, and that's where, again, we have the 3 different type of vote classes. So we have the suggestion detail no votes, comma, suggestion detail not voted, comma, suggestion detail dash voted. And then we'll have the stuff that's in common with all 3. Border is 3 pixels, solid, and it is the 39BAD8. That's the blue. Text align is center. Line height is 1 rem. The overall height is 100 pixels. That makes it, that forces it to be square. The display is going to be flex. The flex direction is column. The justify content is center. And the font size is 0.8 rem. So that's going to create a flex box inside of it. So we have these things stacked on top of each other. That way we can put all 3 items in the box, in the square box, and it's going to look right. Suggestion. Actually, we can do is, let's say you can find the suggestion entry section, because that suggestion entry section for suggestion entry no votes. Yep, right here. Through not voted, these 3 will be the exact same except for their name. So let's come back to the bottom, and I'll paste them in, and we'll just change where it says entry to detail. So the coloring is the same for all 3 of these. We could, again, kind of merge them together, but that gets a little risky when it comes to the fact that this box is a different size and is on a different page for a reason. So we're going to leave that alone. Next up, let's go back to our page. And we have this entry right here, detail-upvote. And that detail-upvote gives it a size. So let's remember back with our regular upvote. Let's put this in first. Detail-upvote. It's going to be a font size of 2.7 rem. Remember in our original upvote, let's go over and look at that, the index page. We kind of cheated. So we had this style size equals 3 rem. So Now this one, we actually have the entry in a class. So let's do this. Let's say entry-upvote and font size of 3 rem. And then let's put that in place on the index page in order to match. Take it off there, and we'll put it here. That way we fix that wrong and make sure that we don't have a cheat in place. We don't want inline CSS on our pages as much as possible. It makes it harder to modify things. Inline CSS has a place, but it's not the primary thing we rely on. Okay, next up we have suggestion detail date. Let's come down here and say suggestion detail date. And the suggestion detail date is going to have a text align of center. It's going to have padding top of 10 pixels and a padding bottom of 10 pixels. Next up, we have our suggestion detail text. And we'll say the display is flex. We'll say the flex direction is column. The padding is 10 pixels. The padding left is 27 pixels. And the padding top is 0. Which, if I've already specified 2 out of the 4, I should probably just do the other 2. So we should say padding right is 10 pixels and padding bottom is 10 pixels, like so. And just get rid of this padding entry here. So that's really clear what's going on, and they're different sizes. So we're good there. Okay, so we can come back over here. I think that takes care of all of that. Now we need to get the suggestion detail suggestion. So this is the text section of our suggestion block. So let's start with our suggestion itself. I'll scroll up so you can see it again. And in here, the suggestion detail suggestion, the font size is going to be 1.25 rem. Let's make it zoom in a little bit. And then next up is the author. And for the author, we're going to change the color to be A9, A9, A9. After that, we have the suggestion entry text category, which is the same formatting as it's a reuse of the same class. Therefore, we can ignore trying to format that. It's already been formatted. Same thing with close button section and the btn close. It's all taken care of for us. So now we can come down here. We have the details form, which again is going to be only for the mobile formatting. We have the form layout already done. Suggestion results, though, is something that we don't have yet. So after the author, we have suggestion results. And for results, we have display is grid. The grid template columns are 50 pixels and 1 FR. And the padding is 0. The margin top is going to be 20 pixels. Okay, so that takes care of the suggestion results. Now we get to the status class, and that's where we have all the different classes. And they are different than, unfortunately, they're different than what we had for the suggestion entry. So we're going to have to go through and do all of these by hand. So suggestion detail status complete. I'll do one and then we'll copy and paste and come back and fix them. Background color is B5D4 3A. The border top left radius is 15 pixels. And then the border bottom left radius is 15 pixels. So we can copy this, and this will be watching, upcoming, dismissed, and none. So let's change that. Watching, and then upcoming, and then dismissed, and then finally none. Let's go back to watching, and we're going to make a change to the color. Watching is E9354C. Upcoming is 835581. Dismissed is going to be F9C30B. And none is easy, it's white. That takes care of our suggestion detail statuses that come from this class. We still need to have the suggestion detail status section. Let's grab that. And in this section, we're going to have a padding of 1.5 rem. And then we have our suggestion details status, which has our status name on it. And that's going to be a flex grow of 1. And then we'll have the last section, which is owner notes. So suggestion detail owner notes. And in here, we're going to say that the padding in the bottom is 20 pixels. So with that, I think that's all the formatting we need for our detail page. We'll launch it and see. Again, this takes time to get right. There's a lot of tweaks in here to make it look right. But the key is to have a good picture of what you want to see before you start working on it. And that's mostly what I want to see, but not exactly. I've got some weird layouts here. This should be next to, not stacked, and this X should be in the upper right-hand corner. So we're getting close, but we're not there. We got some layout issues to address. I think something's a little off. Now, one quick way to diagnose this, if you hit F12, F12 needs to be your friend. Now, it popped up on the other screen. Let's actually move this onto the bottom for now. Let's resize this. You can close this out. So F12 needs to be your friend because it's going to allow you to diagnose things very, very quickly. Some of the elements page in this far left-hand side says select an element in the page to inspect it. If I click this and hover without clicking, it shows me the grid layout here, and that's ugly. That's not what I'm looking for. So there's something wrong here, and I need to figure out what that is. So what I'm expecting is to have both this upvote section and this section together, and then the X next to it. And the X should be in this little purple section right here, this little dashed off section here. So we've got a wrapping issue. Let's click on the overall section, and it takes us to the row. And if we expand the row, we'll see we have a column of 11, and down here a column of 1, but in the middle we have this class. That's not right. So I think what the problem is that this class needs to go up into this call 11 class. So let's try that. So let's go back to our details page. We come up here, and this class right here, or this div right here, needs to be inside this column, I believe. So I'm going to cut this out. And from there, we'll paste it in right here, which messes the formatting up. There we go. But now if you collapse this and look, we have a call of 11 and a call of 1. So 11 plus 1 is 12. That's exactly right. That's what we want. Let's try this again and see if that doesn't solve the layout problem. All right, wait for it to load. Go to a suggestion. That's what I'm looking for. That looks a lot better. So now we have our vote section over here, which we can vote or not vote on. And we have also our close button. Now, interestingly enough, we have a problem. We hit F12. It says there's been a crash of some kind. So a console. And I've zoomed in here, so that's why it's so huge. Sequence contained no elements. So the upvote suggestion. So you had some kind of problem here. Let's refresh the page. And I'm going to click on the upvote. That worked. Click on it again. It worked. I think it may have been a transient problem. Oh, no, I got it again. So let's keep diagnosing what happened here. So I hit refresh. If I click off and on multiple times, it seems like at one point it fails. Let's hit refresh again. I click on it, I wait. Let's see if that error pops up if I just wait. It doesn't seem to. If I click it again and wait, doesn't seem to. If I close it out and I go back to the 5th suggestion, it's not selected. That's okay. I click it again. Nothing happens. I close out. It is upvoted. We can sort by popular. So it seems like it only happens if I do it fast. There we go. So here's what I'm going to do. This is a great opportunity to talk through getting distracted while developing because you found a bug, and that is a bug, and we need to address that bug before it goes to production. But at the same time, that's not what we're working on right now. So what I will do is I'm going to write this down. So if you click the vote multiple times, then it crashes. So command update failed, write operation conflicted with another operation. Please retry your operation or multi-document transaction. So we have a problem where it looks like if you go too fast, we have a bug. Okay, so I'll write that down and remember that for the future when we start doing some testing and debugging, but we're not going to address it now because right now is styling time. And as far as style goes, this is working for us. This lays out nice. It looks nice. This little page down here looks great. If I close it out and go to a different page that doesn't have a status, that doesn't show up at all. So that's good. It only shows up if we actually have a status, and that's colored correctly, and it has the title and the description. So, or title and owner notes. So that's good. That's what we want. It looks right. So I think we're going to call this page complete. We can go on to the next page of formatting.